It has been 2 long years since the start of a tumultuous journey for many Afghan refugees across the world. Though I read and watched the news coverage of the crisis, though I'm also an immigrant, I realized the experience of the Afghan refugees was not something I could ever imagine. The summer of 2023, I traveled to Ottawa with the hopes of listening to the stories of the Afghan community.
As a refugee, when you come first time, you face many challenges. The first thing is you feel separated from your community, friends, family, and face cultural shock because everything is different.
There were times that I was struggling a lot with sadness and with depression. Afghan music helped me a lot. It acted like a friend that understood me. The words and the melodies makes me feel better. And it's not like just a sound, it's like a medicine to my heart.
That night, I did a little bit more research and began finding ways I could learn more about Afghan music and cuisine. Today, we're going to Fazil's restaurant, and Fazil is an Afghan refugee who started his own business. And then later in the day, we're going to Mushfiq's place, and he is a musician and also an artist. I'm really excited about trying Afghan food. Fazil was kind enough to show us his restaurant and even cook a few dishes for us.
وقتی که ما کانادا آمدم فرست چیز دیگه نبود، یکی از دوستان بود که رفتم باشون چیز کردم، گفت که چه کار میخوای بکنی؟ خواستم که یک رستوران جور کنم. رستوران تقریبا 16 سال پیش جورش کردم. بسیار زیاد با مشکلات، چون تجربه نداشتم، فامیلیم بسیار زیاد کمک میکردن. خانم و مینا کمک کردن من.
Later that day, we also got a closer look at Mushfiq's studio, where the walls were lined with Eastern instruments and his artwork. When he performed for me, I could feel his passion and love for his work.
In the past 40 years, I'm learning and teaching music, Eastern classical music and different genres as well. My bachelor was in acting. I started with acting. I was a former professor in Kabul University. See, music is part of human nature. Doesn't matter from which country, which race, which religion, correct? And the benefit is like a therapy. Music is a knowledge, not just a hobby. We call it ilm. Ilm means knowledge. And people has to learn. That's why for everybody, when they're sick, the best therapy is music.
Yearning to learn more about Afghan art, I paid a visit to Fahim, who was a calligrapher here in Ottawa.
Refugee life and being as an immigrant and leave behind everything in your own country would be a sort of trauma and different scales for different categories of immigrants and refugees. But how to have connect them back with their social values, cultural aspects, cultural life, and to have sort of trauma healing therapy through artworks. And art doesn't recognize border. It's a good connect with different people, with different categories, different age, different background. Now I have established good networks, not only with Afghan refugees, with Iranian refugees, with Turkish Cultural Center, with Canadian colleagues, and now I'm member of Society of Calligraphy of Ottawa. I'm attending their monthly meetings, and we have exchange of experience and swapping cards. This is not only relief and inspiration for me, but of course networking, to be in contact and attending various cultural events by different societies. We left behind everything, but we have our values, we have our talents, we have our cultural and social norms and values. We can add it, and it could be a source of value added to this nice country here. They helped us. We may help them a lot in this respect as well.
I was really inspired by what Fahim said, especially when he talked about movement in art. I really connected with that.
Okay, where are we going to now?
Now we're going to the warehouse of ACSN, which is the Afghan Canadian Support Network, where Allaha, who is one of the executive directors, helps with organizing the items for donation. It was clear from the moment I met Allaha that this was someone who cared deeply about her community.
Welcome
Thank
to our
you.
storage space at Willis Transfers. We're grateful that we got to store all the donations that you see here.
Yeah.
You can see that we have all the kids stuff here. We have everything from shoes to diapers to winter gear. We have some falls coming soon, so we have sweaters here. This whole area, we had more in the past, but we obviously donated them to the families, and this is what we have left for this year. Welcome.
Thank you. What are some common challenges that you see these newcomers face?
The most common challenges that we see them face right now would be just integrating into society and into the community, just because they don't know what to expect. It's a new country, new place, new language. A lot of them, although a lot of them do speak English, it's still culturally, it's a lot different than Afghanistan. So that would be the biggest challenge and that's where we come in to help them with just even donating or connecting them to other Canadians or Afghan Canadians. It helps them get a sense of community and culture, not just with the Afghans, but Afghan Canadians and Canadians alike.
So how has ACSN helped these Afghan refugees integrate into the community?
So in the past, we've curated events in a way that we can showcase Afghan culture and Afghan music, as well as Afghan arts. As well, we've added Indigenous music and Canadian music just to integrate that and showcase the culture here. And that's helped with the Afghans and Canadians alike to bond over music in our events. In 2019, I myself won Miss Multicultural Canada, representing Afghanistan. It was a good feeling knowing we won right after the unfortunate events happened.
What do you hope to see in Afghan communities in the future?
My hope would be for the community to continue supporting one another and just being there for each other, continue having our donors and all the sponsors supporting us into making our goals happen and continuing to thrive with our culture and the Canadian culture.
I was grateful that everyone told me their stories with so much honesty, and I was grateful that people were still able to hold their heads up high and help each other given the circumstances. I decided to end my last day in Ottawa by going to Carleton University. I was introduced to Safia, a student, and Professor Sadat, who taught at the college. Hi.
My name is Safia and I'm a high school student. It's been a good opportunity for us to talk about our culture based on Canada and the diversity in Canada has allowed us to bring our culture in here, and it is a good opportunity to share our educational parts and cultures to Canada.
Is there advice you would give to the younger Afghan students?
Yes, I know that Afghan students are really talented. I want them to bring their own culture here, their beautiful culture. And I know lots of students, they're a good athlete, they're a good artist, and they can bring those talented here to be successful.
I work with one of the federal departments and I manage development projects. And then part-time I also teach at one of the colleges. I'm attending and participating in this interview in my personal capacity. I moved to Canada in August 2021. I'm still considered a newcomer to Canada. It has been 2 years. Looking at my profession, I think some of the things that really helped me with my resettlement here in Canada was the fact that I had previously worked with the international community. So I had great exposure to a multicultural environment, working with people from different backgrounds and different countries. I had worked with the Canadians in the past when I was in Afghanistan, and when I moved here, I didn't find it very difficult. Understanding English and being able to interact with people in their own language was key as well. So I found it more a smooth transition. And on top of it, when I was a university professor in Kabul in Afghanistan, it also sort of helped me to be able to find opportunities for teaching here as well, and sort of training and educating the current generation of the Canadians. And I have been engaged with many new refugees arriving here in Canada from Afghanistan who are facing a plethora of challenges. Be it taking admission at universities, getting their credentials evaluated here in Canada and be able to qualify for admission at the universities is one challenge for the youth. Some of them not being able to get their credentials from Afghanistan because you're dealing with a de facto government which is not internationally recognized was another key issue. Not being able to communicate fluently in English is another issue. And then nowadays with the housing crisis and finding a place to live, finding a job. And this is intensified if you look at it in the context of the trauma that they had to go through when they left their country and leaving everything, their belongings, their property, their wealth, their friends, families behind is something that even adds more on the challenges that they face here as part of their resettlement.
Is there any advice to help newcomers in Canada?
Yeah, so I think my biggest advice to the Canadians is that they shouldn't be looking at refugees and immigrants as burden to their society and to their communities. There's so much that they could bring in and invest and they can contribute from, given their experience, their knowledge, their skill sets. I think looking at the whole refugee and immigration phenomena as something positive, as a contributing factor to their economy, to societies, to their lives, I think would be the strongest advice that I would offer to everyone that I meet. I think it's important for the families to make sure that they preserve that their language, their culture within their household, but also be open to learn new things that will help them with their overall social integration here in Canada.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm really grateful that everyone shared their stories and their experiences with me, and I learned a lot more than I would have ever imagined.
If you could say something to all the people you interviewed, what would you say to them?
Thank you for allowing me to take a peek into your culture and your past, and I hope that you are welcomed in Canada. It was very clear how much everyone supported each other within the Afghan community. And to be a part of it, even for a few days, a blessing. I learned so much about their culture, their art, and even received a few pieces from my time with all the artists. And yet, despite their resilience, there's so much work that needs to be done.